Final Fantasy VIII stands as a landmark in the role-playing genre, celebrated for its ambitious storytelling, innovative gameplay mechanics, and distinctive visual style. Yet beneath its polished surface exists a wealth of hidden secrets and community discoveries that continue to captivate fans even decades later. These obscure details reveal much about the technical intricacies, narrative choices, and design philosophies behind the game. From gameplay mechanics that can unexpectedly malfunction to secret quests concealed within the world, these features reveal the depth of world building embedded within the game. Exploring and understanding these elements allows for a greater appreciation of the game's design though, and they highlight the ingenuity of the creators and the enduring curiosity of the community. So join us as we explore some weird secrets about Final Fantasy VIII in our typical granular style. Video games are the perfect intersection of art and technology. While the end-facing product can be beautiful, spanning new and creative worlds, they're powered by engines that can run off an amalgamation of competing processes. As such, exploits can arise, and they have led to the discovery of glitches and bugs that enable players to game the system, so to speak. One great example of such exploits is the ability to acquire Squall's legendary weapon, the Lionheart, on Disc 1. Something that can drastically alter the game and make the player feel far more powerful early on than intended. Forging Lionheart this early though requires a certain amount of materials and items, most of which need to be farmed over the course of several hours. Pulse ammo, for example, is from energy crystals, which are refined from Elnor cards which can be won from Triple Triad games. Dragon Fangs are obtained from Grendels and Timber, and the Adamantine from either modding the Minotaur card or by farming Adamantoises. To add a further layer of difficulty to this self-imposed side quest, the party also needs to remain under level 20, as certain item drops are restricted to that level range. It means acquiring Lionheart on level 1 doesn't require breaking the game necessarily in any specific way, it just relies on taking advantage of the game's systems and mechanics, and it stands as a fun challenge for those who want more from the game. Now in 2019, Square Enix released the Final Fantasy VIII Remaster, a version of the beloved classic that introduced a host of customizable options to alter personal playstyles. Amongst these was the 3x game speed boost, a feature that sped up gameplay, thus streamlining grinding, hastening exploration, and turning casual play into a whirlwind. But while the speed boost delivered on its promise of efficiency, it also unveiled a subtle yet significant exploit: the game's internal timing mechanisms. Although character movement was dramatically accelerated, the game's internal timer was still tied to the real-life passage of time, which wasn't affected by this 3x speed boost. This discrepancy could cause some character interactions to feel momentarily delayed, something odd but not too noticeable. However, it did have significant consequences for any aspect of the game that relied on a timer, with the best example being the battle with the game's main superboss, Omega Weapon, inside Ultimecia's castle. Traditionally, players had to ring the bell at the courtyard, which triggered a 60-second timer, with the expectation that they needed to reach the cathedral to confront Omega Weapon within that time. To circumvent this challenge, most players employed a strategy involving a second party, sending one squad to ring the bell, while the main party waited at the cathedral, ready for the fight. However, with the 3x speed enabled, character movement was sped up enough that the 60-second timer was but a mild inconvenience, rendering the party switching tactic completely redundant. In a franchise renowned for its array of minigames, to be near universally regarded as one of the best is a considerable achievement. But Triple Triad claims its place as a fan favourite, and its popularity still continues decades after its original debut, serving as a testament to its enduring appeal. Given that over 20 years have passed since its release, the landscape of Triple Triad's secrets has largely been mapped out, rendering the quest for the rarest cards less of an adventure and more of a well-documented scavenger hunt. Yet in the late 90s when the game came out, before an abundance of available and accurate online guides existed, such discoveries were genuinely scarce, and obtaining the rarest cards was therefore rather difficult. One such elusive prize was the Poo Poo card, which ranks amongst the rarest in the game, but also one of the strangest. Its acquisition relied on an obscure and easily overlooked side quest involving multiple UFO encounters. To trigger the quest, players had to visit 4 specific locations, Mandy Beach, Windhill Bluffs, Kashkabal Desert, and the Heath Peninsula. Afterwards, they had to travel to Grandidi Forest and defeat the UFO in a final stand. Once the alien spacecraft was dispatched, a quick visit to Balam Garden introduced players to Poo Poo, a strangely adorable blue creature who requested nothing but elixirs. After giving it 5 of these, the creature rewarded players with the coveted Poo Poo card, a level 5 A rank card notably powerful for its level, as most A cards tended to be level 9 or 10. While most players regard this card more as a curiosity due to the UFO quest triggering later in the game, the Poo Poo card and Poo Poo itself remain as a charming reminder of Final Fantasy VIII's vast and weird world building. In that regard, one of the more intriguing aspects was the various magazines that could be found littered throughout the world. These publications varied from light-hearted and humorous to somewhat scandalous, serving primarily as a means to add further world-building depth. But beyond their superficial entertainment value, some of these magazines played a surprisingly active role in character development. For example, the Combat King magazines in particular could arm Zell with new duel skills. While it was possible to acquire the Combat King magazines by purchasing them from the Esther bookstore, with the exception being Combat King 5, which required Tombru's familiar ability, the true spirit of exploration lay in finding them organically within the game's environment. That then brings us on to Combat King 3, which was acquired through a questline involving a member of the Balam Garden Library Committee who was infatuated with Zell. And this served as a narrative device that intertwined gameplay with character storylines. The side quest itself ended up being surprisingly detailed, as it not only started right at the beginning of the game before Squall visited the Fire Cavern, but lasted all the way through Disc 2, before concluding on Disc 3. Depending on how many times the pigtailed girl was interacted with, different scenes could then play throughout the side quest, but irrespective of the so-called completion level of the quest, the main reward was always the same, Combat King number 3, which allowed Zell to learn Meteor Barret as part of his dual limit break. Final Fantasy VIII saw its world building enhanced by quests such as these, and while many consider them unnecessary, they came together to create a lived-in universe imbued with cultural nuances and social dynamics that were exceedingly difficult to replicate through conventional storytelling alone. Such elements fostered a sense of authenticity and depth, elevating the game beyond a simple narrative to a fully realised environment teeming with lore and personality. And it worked because they were all so unique. Another example of this is the Slappers, or ice hockey players encountered in Galbadia Gardens ice rink. These characters were not integrated into any overarching questline or pivotal plot event, and fighting them yielded little more than some helpful potions. Their sole mention outside of this encounter was through a student in the rink's locker room, who described the team as being composed of a bunch of monsters. Whether this characterization was literal or a humorous exaggeration remains open to interpretation, but it was perhaps taken a little too literally in the French localization, which introduced another Easter egg. In that version, the same student alluded to the hockey team watching the Friday the 13th movies while they trained, and instead of the hockey players being called Slappers, they were instead called Jason. Now, the world of speedrunning can seem peculiar to those who play games for the story or for the love of characters and mechanics. After all, when the intent is to complete the game as quickly as possible, it requires the skipping of a lot of the world building these games have to offer. That being said, much like those who love the challenge of acquiring Squall's Lionheart on Disc 1, speedrunners love the challenge of finding ways to run through the game as fast as possible. Even within a single game, there are different speedrunning records depending on the parameters set. For example, completing a game with any percentage means the goal is to make it to the end of the game as fast as possible, which can include the use of glitches. And it's in this category we can see outrageous records such as The Legend of Zelda Ocarina of Time being beaten in under 4 minutes. Then there's requirements that the game needs to be completed 100% or whether or not glitches can be used. The current record for Final Fantasy VIII in this regard is just over 8 hours. A vast reduction from the average of just under 40 hours it generally takes people to get through the main story. But while there are numerous strategies involved in completing a Final Fantasy VIII speedrun, we'll be focusing on one in particular. A notable obstacle in speedruns is the quest at General Caraway's mansion, which involves a randomly generated code. Techniques such as hard resets that generate consistent codes and RNG manipulation by tracking triple Triad matches and NPC locations have been employed to bypass this hurdle. But the world of Final Fantasy VIII speedrunnings changed with a bizarre discovery: the number of telephone poles passed on the train to Delling City. These poles were governed by the same back-end RNG values that determined the code, allowing runners to decipher it by their passing patterns. But to learn more about the research and history involved with this discovery, we'd recommend checking out this video by Sayo, who runs into some of the serious intricacies behind the methods. That then brings us on to the Obel Lake side quest, which was a compelling but largely obscure exploration challenge that added depth to the game's universe. Unlike primary story quests, its conditions were not explicitly hinted at or marked, making it accessible to only dedicated players willing to investigate and experiment. To begin, players had to locate Obel Lake, a small area near Timber. Once the player reached this obscure location, they could interact with the lake to bring up two options: throw a rock or try humming. If the player chose to hum, a black shadow emerged, offering two more options: throw a rock and try humming again. If the player hummed once more, a conversation was initiated. The shadow requested that the player look for his friend, Mr. Monkey, thus setting off a chain of events that led players across the world in search of rare items. The quest chain was rife with riddles and could earn the player an achievement or trophy when playing on a platform that supported them. And this exemplified the depth of design in Final Fantasy VIII, as it demonstrated a layered world that rewarded perseverance and exploration. Because the quest was dependent on obscure triggers and non-linear discovery, it's often missed during casual gameplay. While certainly less obscure now, many only knew about the quest from guides or gaming magazines when the game was first released. Nevertheless, it remains a testament to the game's ambitious scope, encouraging players to venture off the beaten path for rare encounters that enriched their overall experience. With that, they were 7 weird facts about Final Fantasy VIII. Be sure to let us know in the comments below which you found to be the most intriguing. And if you enjoyed this video, feel free to hit that like button and subscribe for more. Alright everyone, with that, this is Darryl signing out. As always, I'd like to give a big thank you to all of our Patreon and YouTube membership supporters, especially Benjamin Snow, Christopher Gardner, Clever Chavez, EXP Required on YouTube, Frederick Forrest, Gregory and Stephen, who are super special Onion Knight supporters, and of course, a big thank you to everyone for watching the video. I'll see you all again soon for more Final Fantasy goodness.